Previously on the channel, we've spoken about H.P. Lovecraft and his dark, depressing lore of his creative written universe. And with it being the month of Halloween, what better excuse to look back at the world of Cthulhu? So we've looked at the Lovecraft-inspired game of Achtung Cthulhu. It was okay, and fans of the tabletop game will probably enjoy it more, but some people have said to me in real life that it doesn't look involving enough. And I agree. The lack of character interaction and plot does make the game feel a little bit flat. So to those people who said that, or share the same opinion, I think I have an alternative game that may interest you. Zen Studios' Dread Nautical. While not directly related to Lovecraft's work, it takes heavy inspiration from it. You play as a survivor trapped on the cruise ship Hope, as an unknown force transports the ship to the realm of Dread, and turns most of its passengers into twisted horrors from your worst nightmares. If your nightmares are about zombies and rejected Pokemon concepts. When the game starts up, you'll be given the basic plot by the antagonist, while noticing its rather unique look. The graphics are done in this cartoonish style, and it will be hit or miss to potential players, but despite the graphics, it doesn't take away from the atmosphere and theme of the game that much. An unknown force starts approaching the cruise ship Hope. On board the ship is someone the voice refers to as the Gifted One. As the force gets closer, mysterious happenings begin to haunt the ship. Passengers start going crazy, people are dying suddenly, and worst of all, the chef is suddenly shit at cooking. As more passengers succumb to the happenings, the ship is engulfed by the anomaly and transported to the realm where the voice resides. Then you get access to the main menu. Choosing to begin a new game allows you to have up to 3 save games and a choice of 3 difficulties, ranging from normal, hard, and FUCK THIS SHITTY GAME! Once you decide on the difficulty, you're given a choice of 1 of 4 characters to start the game with. Each has varying stats and abilities. Fargo Drexler, a ranged fighter, Hatano Kenichi, a melee fighter, Mirage, the buffer, and the debuffer, V.
Nobody's up for couch co-op.
I immediately hate you. After choosing your survivor, you start on day 1, the start of the tutorial. It's a turn-based game, so you move your character along a grid to navigate the levels. The game instructs you to talk to the guy in the room with you. You can either move your way up to him and then interact with him, or you can highlight him for a list of options. You can also move and turn the camera to observe your surroundings. Here, we meet Jed. A bit of a weirdo, but he is the guy who saved you and brought you to his safe room. The cutscenes are fully voiced with decent performances, but sometimes unusual body movements and odd dialogue.
Thanks for your help, Jed. It's nice to meet you. What's going on?
Well, let's just say I love shooting zombies in video games. But this ain't no game, and it sure ain't no fun.
Get it? 'Cause relatable. Jed explains to us what we already know. Passengers went crazy and attacked each other, so he took shelter in the room you're in now, and zombie-like creatures had begun roaming the decks. Your character decides to take a look for themselves, and Jed advises you to look for supplies while you're out and arm yourself with the lead pipe nearby. I get that it's the start of the game, so your first weapon isn't going to be good, but for once, I'd love to see a game where a character goes, "What's that? A zombie outbreak? Well, good thing I remembered to pack my minigun." The weapons in this game are what you would expect to find in a survival game of this nature. You can find guns aboard the ship, but most of the weapons are everyday objects like mops, crowbars, playing darts, as well as armour like life jackets. As weapons are used and armour is hit, they will begin to deteriorate, and after a certain number of uses or hits, they will break. But they can be repaired and upgraded back at your base. Weapons and armour also have a colour-based ranking system, white being the worst, green being better, and then blue, and so on and so forth. The higher the quality, the better the stats and effects your equipment will have, so all of your monster murdering desires will be fulfilled. Items like bandages, however, are gone for good once you use them, so make them count. However, if your inventory is full, you can either leave the item there or swap it out for something, and this will happen a lot, so you'll need to think carefully about what it is you leave behind because you can't come back for it later, as the decks are randomly generated every time you enter. The final thing you'll find while searching are tome pages. Once you decipher them, they will appear as messages that appear during the loading screens, offering more lore for you to read. You can also find currencies while you're out and about, but we'll get into that later. Before we leave, Jed tells us to look out for the radio and the foghorn and to try and signal for help if we find them. We then take the lift and choose a deck to explore. Naturally, once you complete a deck, you unlock the one that comes after it, and there's a total of 20 decks in all. As you progress through the level, it will teach you the basics of the game, such as how to loot containers and inventory management. Each character can hold 6 items and a single piece of armour. What these items are depend on what you bring with you and pick up in the levels. So, if you wanted to, you could load up a character with 6 weapons or items, and using an item or a weapon is as easy as clicking on it. You also get a feel for how movement works. When not in a battle, you can move as far as you want with no penalty or cost. In combat, however, it's different, and you can discover how much different as the first door you open puts you face to face with your first enemy via jump scare. During combat, the action becomes turn-based. The player will get their own turn where they can move any characters that are on their team. Then the enemy will have a turn, and if necessary, survivors you find will also have a turn after the enemy. As you can guess, characters will have action points, and these are what they use to perform actions like moving, attacking, interacting with the environment, and so on. The cost of using something is displayed as white diamonds next to the picture of what you want to do, and movement costs 1 action point per square you move. Each character also has an activated ability, which is unique to them. This is activated like using an item, just click on it. The catch being you can only use the ability so many times per level. Combat also features stealth mechanics to a degree. Whenever you take an action like opening a door or attacking, you generate noise. The higher the noise rating, the further the noise goes and is more likely to attract enemies. Sometimes you'll find enemies that are sleeping. If they are, you can approach from any direction other than the front and get a sneak attack bonus or avoid them altogether. If you do happen to walk in front of them, you wake them up, but sometimes this is unavoidable. As the level goes on, you gather supplies and make it to the radio room. You ring the foghorn, which causes you to pass out, and the level ends. Your supplies are tallied, ha, nice, and you feed your survivors. When you wake up, you're back in the safe house. Here, we meet Jed. A bit of a weirdo, but he is the guy who saved you and brought you to his safe room. The cutscenes are fully voiced with decent performances, but sometimes unusual body movements and odd dialogue. Wait a minute. Deja vu is kicking me in the balls right now. That's because Jed does repeat himself, but this time he is in quote-unquote awe to find out that you remember sounding the foghorn. It turns out that that wasn't your first time venturing out, and you and him have been doing this several times before. Just every time you ring the foghorn, you've had amnesia. But this time it's different. Jed sees this as a sign of hope, then changes the subject and instructs you to build a workbench. Jawohl, mein Jed. There's a part of me that's expecting Jed to finish his sentences with,
Would you kindly get this? Would you kindly find that? Would you kindly find that? Would you kindly find? Would you kindly get this? Would you kindly head to Ryan's office and kill the son of a bitch?
Now we are introduced to the scrap concept. Scrap is the first of 2 currencies that you'll find in the game. Scrap is the fits almost all currency of the game. You use it to upgrade your base and maintain your gear. To acquire scrap, you can get it by breaking down gear you don't want anymore, or you'll find it as loot drops from enemies or just in the environment. You acquire it slow and spend it fast, so make sure you put thought into how you spend it. The second currency is runes. You won't be able to use this until you reach the 3rd deck, but runes are what you would use to level up your character by increasing stats, and like scrap though, it's shared among your party, acquired slow and is spent fast, so think before spending. As mentioned before, you can repair and upgrade your gear at the workbench, but even this comes with a risk. Upgrading your gear costs a fixed amount, but repairing it only has a certain chance to work. The more currency you put in it, the better the results. That sounds a bit familiar. Now our gear is fixed, we need to speak to Jed again. You both suspect that there may be other survivors on the ship and it would be wise to recruit them. So, off to deck 2! The objectives for the levels will stay the same. Start the level, fight your way to the end, ring the foghorn. But to advance the plot, you'll need to complete specific objectives, which you may or may not be able to achieve in one level. But even if you don't, the progress you make is saved. In this case, we need to find another survivor. And wouldn't you know it, there's one right there. After a brief battle, we meet Bill, a retired war veteran who's no stranger to stressful situations. Why does that sound familiar? Somehow we know Bill's name. Not due to bad writing, but plot lore, and we talk some more before he asks us to help him kill the newly spawned enemies. Just hope that these independently acting AI partners don't get themselves killed. With the fight over, we experience the respect meter. When you meet a survivor, helping them and how you interact with them will determine how they see you. Help them kill monsters? But be a dick and they'll lose respect for you. If you fill the bar up, then they will join you and you can add them to your party in future adventures. Your first encounter with them won't be your last though, as it will take time to convince them that you're trustworthy. Bill says he needs more time to think about it and we should see him tomorrow about it. Then, as the game puts it, the game continues following this premise. Venture out into the ship, scavenge supplies, save survivors, fight monstrosities, sound the horn, tend your needs, build the base up, power up yourself, rinse, repeat. That might sound boring, but it isn't. The plot is always being revealed and you always feel like you're working towards something. And every time you come back from a deck you do have something to show for it. Whether it be finding out more plot or grinding levels to power yourself up, there's always a sense of achievement. You make your own plan and play the game your way, but you can't just mindlessly spend and kill. You need to think about what you're doing, otherwise you could lose party members to starvation, be underpowered for the threat ahead, or you just don't have enough scrap to do what you want. To avoid this, you can play decks you've visited already, and again, they will be randomly generated, so chances are you're going to find equipment you didn't find last time. Dread Nautical is a game I would recommend trying. It's very involved and it does require you to be cautious and potentially worried about your actions. The supernatural horror theme has been done well. Its eerie soundtrack and sound can put you a little bit on edge. There were several times I didn't want to open the door because I was expecting trouble on the other side, which could mean that I was about to lose a party member. But I knew that I needed to, because I need to feed Bill, the fat bastard.
Delicious, all things considered.
While the graphics do look a bit silly and sometimes the writing is just as bad, the plot is intriguing and you being able to influence it adds to the experience. The controls are very simple to grasp and the mechanics aren't complicated, so you don't have to worry about learning it, just doing it well. If I have managed to pique your interest though, the game is currently available on all consoles, the Epic Store, and coming to Steam on the 27th of October. So, now you've heard of it, would you play it? Let me know down below. Thanks for watching everyone, and remember you're always welcome at the Spectrum.